In 1961, Jim Wead went to Europe and the Middle East for 6 months as part of the first Youth for Christ teen team. As far as I was concerned, my big brother had conquered the world. Youth for Christ was founded by Billy Graham and Ted Engstrom. There were chapters in almost every high school in the country. The previous year, they'd invited hundreds of preacher wannabes back and forth to Wheaton, Illinois, where they finally winnowed the list down to a select few. With Jim the winner, the best teenage preacher in the country, and he was joined by the best singers and musicians they could muster, and they were good. The teen team came home like conquering heroes. They showed up at our little Tuesday night youth group in South Bend and packed the place out. Newspapers gave Jim long write-ups. That same year, Dad passed on buying the Summerall mansion for a paltry $50,000 to move into a more modest parsonage on Addison Street. It was closer to the church, he said, but it was much smaller. I missed the mansion on Ireland Road, but we were too busy to feel the pain. Our family was in the midst of a great transition, and Jim was at its center. In 1961, he was engaged to a girl named Sandy in Indianapolis. In 1962, on that teen's mission trip to Europe, he had proposed to Ruth Wohlgemuth under an Italian moon. She was the daughter of the national president of Youth for Christ. But by 1963, back at Central Bible Institute, Springfield, Missouri, he had fallen in love with the hottest co-ed on campus, Joyce Ann Cornell. Jim and Joyce were both promised to others, which must have made their forbidden love all the more sweeter. They were married on February the 9th, 1963, in the chapel of Central Assembly, Springfield, Missouri. They sang love songs to each other, taken from the current Broadway musical hit, Kismet. Of course, where Jim went, Bill usually followed, so the speculation was on. Most of us thought it would be Iris Palmer, his girlfriend from youth camp, or Joan, his longtime pen pal, maybe even Sharon Zink, our very own shirt-tail cousin. Some said Sonia, some said Sue. And then in the summer of 1963, in the house on Addison Street, Bill came out of the closet, confiding to me. I couldn't sleep that night. I prayed all night long. Willa Sturgis sensed that something was wrong. I'm so burdened for Bill, she wrote the parents in October, but the parents were still clueless. So I grew up that year in South Bend. I had no choice in the matter. That spring, I starred in a Riley High School musical, and in the summer, I went to the old campgrounds. Even if Dad were no longer in charge, the kids knew me. Name recognition. So they elected me king. In the fall, I used my own money, won on a stock market gamble, to go to CBA, a Christian high school in Oregon. Thought it would be like youth camp. I'd learned in the 6th grade that I was fast. Won lots of blue ribbons in Oregon. District champion in the mile relay and the hurdles, then 4th in state. Still have the school record. Senior class voted me most likely to succeed. Life on Addison Street was not too lonely for Tim. During the 2 summers before I left for Oregon, we turned the backyard into our own baseball stadium. It was my Dodgers against his Tigers, the World Series always at stake. So it was Christmas 1963. We gathered as a family, fractured as we were. Everybody now knew about Bill. It would be our last Christmas with our grandmother, Mama, but we didn't know it. We snuck off to Chicago so the church members wouldn't see, and watched It's a Mad, 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 Mad World in Cinerama. It was good to see Dad laughing. And so ended that fateful year, 1963. In February, Jim had married Joyce Ann Cornell. In July, Bill had come out of the closet. In September, I had left home for Oregon. In November, President John F. Kennedy had been assassinated. At the time, it was hard to know just which event had been the most momentous.